Hey guys, so I thought I'd just make a quick video of one of my hobbies, which is fly tying. I do a lot of fly fishing and stuff, and tonight I was just sitting at the table watching some videos, hence the headphones. And basically all I was doing was tying up some little black stonefly nymphs. So I'm going to show you guys how I'm doing that. And so first things first, I'll show you what hooks I'm using. So I'm using these guys right here. These are partridge clean cameras. Okay, these are size 14, so they're not huge, but they're not small either. So I've already got one in the vise here, and I've got it loaded with just a little crafting bead. It's just something that I like the color of. I'm using just a regular bobbin with porcelain insert, and I have 6-aught black thread that I'm using. So basically I'm just going to tie on at the head here. Going to make my way down. And I go down primarily just past the shank, just past the curve here. A little bit more, right about there. So I find if I go any further than that, it interferes with the gap of the hook once I've got my material. Here, let's go there. Once I've got my my materials on there. So the other material that I'm using is this is just vinyl rib, and this is smaller stuff. It's not huge by any means. That's about it. There you go. I'm using tacky wax, dubbing wax, and that is to get my thread sticky. I've got non-lead lead essentially for wrapping for a little extra weight. I'm using Streamside Swiss straw, and this is black, so I'll use a little piece of that. And so a piece about 1.5 inches, 2 inches long, that'll tie 2 flies for me. Let's get that to focus. There we go. So that's the Swiss straw. So that's that. What else? Great Canadian. This is just seal fur dubbing in black. And of course I'm using black goose biots. Once I've tied on, I'll take my lead, and I take a piece that's about 2 inches long or so, and just break that off with your finger. That's no problem. So what I do is I tuck that right up underneath the head, and I just kind of wind my thread on. And this I don't go all the way back because I want the body to be thicker near the thorax and towards the head of the fly. So I go back just in front of the hook there. I just got a pair of tweezers. Grab onto that. Bring my thread up. And usually I just do just a half hitch there just to lock it in so it doesn't spin on me, just in case. So here we go. Once you get the first one on, it's pretty good. They butt up against each other pretty easily. So I bring it primarily up to the head. You can see how close that is right there. Let's see if I can zoom in a little more on this. There we go. So bring it up to about there. I'll bring my thread back just a couple of wraps. Up and over, and I'll lock it in. Just 2 wraps, and then I end up just using some scissors to cut off the excess that I don't want. Pinch that down, and then start wrapping it in with my thread. So basically the biggest thing is you want to try and get these these wraps as close as possible when you're putting it on, because it actually makes it easier to wrap the thread on once you've done that. So if it's not as tight as you can get it, and it's a little spaced out like I have here, I do diagonal wraps instead of just straight on. So if you put it on a diagonal, it goes across more of the different wraps of the lead, and then once you've done 2 or 3 wraps of that, you can wrap it on fairly straight. So I'll go back a little ways, and then what I'm doing here is I'm going to taper it. That's the whole purpose of that, is just to kind of taper it, give it a wider body so you use less material. So now the fly is weighted, and it'll drop down pretty easy in faster current and in the water column, so I don't have to shop my line, which the fish can be skittish to. So I cover up pretty much all the lead. So I've got a decent shape to it right now. I'll bring it back to the head here. So I've got a pair of goose bite pulled off already from the stem. I just cut off the bad end, and then I put them rounded side back to back. And the reason I do that is so that when I tie in, they'll spread away from each other at the tail of the. I don't know if you can see that or not. So they'll spread away from each other there. So I'll bring my line back, and I make just a tiny bulb in one spot, just with a few extra wraps just in one spot. And the reason I do that is because it makes it a lot easier to tie in. So holding it there, one tight, and biot are difficult to work with. I've never ever enjoyed working with them. They sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, and more often than not they don't work for me. So I just tie it in. It's just to give it some semblance of a tail. There. Now back up to the head. Take my vinyl, put it rounded side down up at the head. Tie it in. Tie it in a couple times nice and tight right at the back, and bring your thread back up to the head. And again, throw one quick little half hitch on there just so things don't loosen up. There we go. Alright, so then again I'll take my pliers, and looking at this I notice that there's no twists. I'll grab it and start wrapping overhand, and again by doing this it now puts the rounded side out, and I'm going to create the body of this stonefly here. You can see when they line up nicely that they give the body of the bug a very nice taper to it. So that's about as far as I go. Bring the line back, up and over, tie it down with 1, 2 wraps. Once it's done 2 wraps, I'll cut a little tiny bit extra like that, and then I'll tie it in, cinch it down, and again just leaving that extra material on there, I find that it just bulks up the fly. So we go like that. So there you go. That's how that looks right there. Then I'm going to take 2 more of my biot, back to back again, so that they're tapered out again. So set it back about where I want it, where it looks good to have the little legs. And again, tie in 1 loose, 1 tight. and then tie the rest of the material in right up to the head. So now that I've got it about there like that, I'm going to take a little bit of my wax, put it on my line, and I'm going to take some of my dubbing and I'm going to roll that on, just basically pinch it onto the line and just twist your fingers to twist it around. I'm just putting a little ball on here, and the whole purpose of this is to act as a filler kind of at the back of the fly, and it also keeps the legs kind of in the same direction. So now I'm going to take my Swiss straw, and again you can see that there's a bit of a fold to it, a bit of a curve to it. So I'll put the curve side down and kind of line it up fairly evenly on there. Tie it in fairly tight, and then I'm going to take a little more of this wax and I'm going to put more dubbing on. And this time you want to use a little bit more because you want it to ball up. There you go. So you can see I made it a little bit thicker. I'm going to wind it tight to the material at the back and then bring the line forward. Fold it down, and I'm going to fold like a little tiny bit of material back because I want it to look like a wing casing. So then I'm going to tighten it up a bit. There you go. See the casing starting to form there. So then I'll take the remainder of it, slide it back, and I'm going to put a couple wraps right over that. Nice and tight. Bring it forward just a bit. Now the thing is, I usually don't do forward the forward antennae or the forward legs. Just it's a pain in the ass and it's a waste of extra goose biots. So I find this works just the same. So basically, when I'm taking goose biots, I'll take it, fold 1, 2 out like that, and then I'll just pluck those off. Cut off the yucky end again. There you go. Back to back again because we want them to stick out. Line it up. Twist it in. There you go. Tiny bit more of the wax on there. So this one's going to have double set of legs on it. I'm going to take another decent sized clump of the dubbing and we're going to wind it on tight, making a bigger ball. And again, wrap it back a bit so that it kind of bunches up at the back. Bring it down to the front. Bring my casing back over again and kind of fold it back just a bit to give that multi-layered casing appeal or appearance. Bring it in tight and cinch it down with 4 or 5 wraps, and then just cut off the excess. That's it. So I can use that. There's still a lot left. I can still make another one. So I'll just kind of pinch that down, wrap it in a couple more, and then I'll basically just use a couple whip finishes. And then I put a little bit of wax on again for the last set of whip finishes that I do, so that it sticks better. So pulling that tight. And when I do my whip finish, I usually do 5 or 6 wraps. Cut it off close. Boink. There we go. So now that's the bug. So there you go. That's my stonefly. Wings are up, but that'll fish pretty well. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Appreciate it. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications, because I'll be posting more videos at some point down the road. Thanks very much. Have a good day.